economic event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has paid tribute to the renowned film director and producer Mohamed Lakhdar Hamina, who passed away at the age of 95. Two memoranda of understanding have been signed between Algeria and Mauritania on the protection of consumers and the modernization of trade register system. And new airstrikes were carried out today by the Israeli army against various spots in the Gaza Strip, killing at least 15 Palestinians, including women and children. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. Good afternoon. First in our news, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has extended his condolences to the family of the war veteran and famous film director and producer Mohamed Lakhdar Hamina, who passed away at the age of 95. In his message, the President recalled the masterpiece he directed, wrote and produced, namely the Chronicles of the Years of Amber, or Les Chroniques des Années de Braise, which was awarded the Palme d'Or at the 1975 Cannes Film Festival and revealed to the world the suffering of the Algerian people during the colonial era. The Secretary General of the State the Secretary of State to the Minister of Foreign Affairs in charge of the national community abroad, Mr. Sofiane Chaib, is representing the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in the swearing-in ceremony of Ecuador's President-elect, Daniel Noboa Azin, held in Quito, Ecuador. And two memoranda of understanding have been signed between Algeria and Mauritania in Nouakchott on the protection of consumers and the modernization of the trade register system. The two agreements were signed by the Interior Trade Minister, Taïb Zitouni, and the Mauritanian Trade Minister, Zainabou Ahmedana, on the sidelines of the closure of the Algerian-Mauritanian Economic Forum. The first memorandum focuses on cooperation in the fields of consumers protection, fight against fraud, and product quality control. The second memorandum focuses on the modernization and update of the trade register system. The forum, which started yesterday, was also marked by the signing of several partnership agreements, notably a contract between the Saidal Group and the Mauritanian group Chinguitti Pharma for the export of Algerian medicines, and a second agreement between the maritime company Knan Algerie and the Mauritanian company Manuport, and a third one between the companies Faderco and Ibda for the distribution of body hygiene products. On this occasion, Mr. Zitouni affirmed that cooperation with Mauritania is not an economic choice but a strategic bet as part of the new Algeria's vision for the rebuilding of its economic relations. To the Middle East now, where new airstrikes were carried out today by the Israeli army against various parts of the Gaza Strip, killing at least 15 Palestinians, including women and children. The bombardments mainly targeted the northern area of Al Tufah and Khan Yunis in the southern part of the enclave. Meanwhile, the first lorries laden with aid have been allowed to enter the Gaza Strip for the first time since the Israeli authorities imposed a blockade on the territory last March. In this connection, the General Commissioner of UNRWA, Filippo Lazzarini, stated that the humanitarian aid entering the Gaza Strip was tantamount to, as he put it, finding a needle in the haystack, as the population is still lacking vital needs. In a message posted on social media, he stressed that Palestinians of Gaza had suffered as part of the genocidal war, hunger, deprivation, and a lack of basic needs for over 11 weeks, insisting that an efficient and continuous funneling of aid constituted the only way of preventing a worsening of the situation. Earlier, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres denounced as insufficient the small amounts of aid allowed in Gaza, where he emphasized the Palestinians are confronted to may be the worst or the most cruel period of the Israeli aggression. He denounced astounding obstacles and complicated procedures that are imposed by the Israeli occupying authorities. And Russia and Ukraine have exchanged 307 of their service personnel on the second day of a prisoner exchange that, when completed, is set to be the largest such swap in the 3-year war between the two countries. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested the prisoner swap, which should see 1,000 prisoners released on each side over 3 days, could herald a new phase in stop-start efforts to negotiate a peace deal between Moscow and Kiev. Today's swap was announced by Russia's defense ministry and separately by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky in a post on social media platform. And the European Commission urged the U.S. on Friday to bring respect, not threats, to trade talks after President Donald Trump pushed for 50% tariff on EU goods, insisting the European Union was committed to securing a deal that worked for both sides. EU Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic spoke with U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer and U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. Trump had recommended higher tariffs on the EU from June 1st. EU Trade Chief Maros Sefcovic said that the European Commission, which oversees trade policy for the 27-nation bloc, remained ready to work in good faith. And now back to Algeria, where the celebration of Africa Day on May 25 is an opportunity to stress that Algeria, under the leadership of the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, continues to play a leading role within the African Union and to consolidate its position as a leader in Africa by launching a number of initiatives designed to meet the geopolitical, security, and economic challenges facing the continent. Africa Day coincides with the creation on May 25, 1963, of the Organization of African Union, which became the AU in 2002. Since then, Algeria has never ceased to reaffirm its pride in belonging to Africa and its constant commitment to the continent's interests. Algeria also contributed to the independence of a number of states and the elimination of apartheid in South Africa, and was able to conduct numerous mediations to resolve conflicts. Today, it is driven under the leadership of the President of the Republic by a constant concern to support the collective African effort and the consolidation of achievements, in addition to promoting progress at all levels. On the security front, Algeria has constantly launched initiatives to resolve conflicts, restore peace and security, and combat terrorism, violent extremism, and cross-border organized crime in its neighborhood and throughout the African continent. Algeria continues to fulfill its duties at continental level in its capacity as leader and coordinator of the AU in the fight against terrorism and violent extremism, an eminent responsibility entrusted to the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, by the African heads of state and government. And with this last piece of news, we come to the end of this news bulletin. Before moving on to our weekly programs, let's remind you the major headlines. Let's remind you the major headlines now. So, the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, paid tribute to the renowned film director and producer Mohamed El Khdar Hamina, who passed away at the age of 95. Two memorandums of understanding have been signed between Algeria and Mauritania on the protection of consumers and the modernization of the trade register system. And new airstrikes were carried out today by the Israeli army against various spots in the Gaza Strip, killing at least 15 Palestinians, including women and children. And as I said before, so the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmadjid Tebboune, has extended his condolences to the family of the war veteran and famous film director and producer Mohamed El Khdar Hamina, who passed away at the age of 95. We'll leave you now with a special program on El Khdar Hamina and his achievements in the field of cinema in Algeria and abroad, and it will be followed by another program by my colleague Marim Bershi. As for me, I'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now. Famous Algerian film director, producer, and mujahid Mohamed Lakhdar Hamina passed away on Friday at the age of 95. Renowned for his unique vision, the late director left his footprint on the history of cinema as one of the few African and Arab directors to have competed 4 times at the Cannes Film Festival, winning 2 major awards, namely the Best First Feature Award